Let me tell you something, my friends. One of the great discoveries of my life was this. Success is not as complicated as most people make it. We keep looking for the magic formula, the secret shortcut, the hidden advantage that will turn everything around. But after all these years of talking with leaders, entrepreneurs, families, students, and dreamers from every corner of the world, I've learned a simple truth. And if you'll really hear it today, it might just change the whole direction of your life. Here it is. The one habit that quietly turns ordinary people into extraordinary successes is this. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Now, that may sound simple. You might say, Jim, is that really the one? Is that the big habit? Yes. Because everything else, your income, your opportunities, your confidence, your influence flows from the person you become. Most people spend their lives working on their job. They get up, they go to work, they put in the hours, they come home, and they repeat. And there's nothing wrong with honest labor. But if you ever want your life to rise above the ordinary, if you want to multiply your value in the marketplace, if you want the kind of success that follows you instead of the kind you chase, then the real work, the life-changing work, begins with you. See, you can't control the economy. You can't control the weather. You can't control the company or the government or the stock market. But you can control what you read. You can control the skills you build. You can control your attitude, your discipline, your habits, your philosophy. And my friends, those are the things that determine your future. Because success isn't attracted to the job you do. It's attracted to the value you bring to the job you do. And value is an inside job. So today, I want to take you on a little journey slowly, carefully through this one habit. Because if you understand it, if you practice it, if you live it, your life will begin to change in ways you cannot imagine right now. Doors will open. People will notice. Opportunities will appear. Not because the world changed, but because you did. So stay with me. We're just getting started. Let's explore the simple habit that transforms ordinary people into extraordinary successes. Now, my friends, before we talk about rising above the ordinary, we have to understand why so many lives stay ordinary in the first place. And it's not because people aren't smart. It's not because they aren't capable. It's not because opportunity has passed them by. No. Most lives remain ordinary because people focus on everything except the one thing that changes everything, themselves. See, the average person has been trained almost from childhood to look outward. If only the government would do this. If only my boss appreciated me. If only the timing was right. If only the economy would improve. They've built their entire philosophy around outside conditions. And they don't even realize that while they're waiting for those conditions to change, their future is slipping by. Let me give you the truth as I discovered it many years ago. It's not the blowing of the wind that determines your destination. It's the set of the sail. And most people never adjust their sails. They wait for the wind to cooperate. My friends, the wind almost never cooperates. People stay ordinary because they fall into what I call the trap of external blame, always looking for something out there to fix what's happening in here, and you can't change your life that way. You can't improve the results without improving the cause. You can't raise your income while lowering your effort. You can't build a better future while staying the same person. Let me give you another contrast. Most people work harder on their job than on themselves. So their job improves, but they don't. They get a little raise, little progress, little recognition, but not transformation, not the big leap forward. Why? Because transformation doesn't come from your job. It comes from your personal philosophy. And here's the tragedy. Many people spend hours scrolling, talking, complaining, comparing, but very little time learning, growing, studying, reflecting, or building. They invest more into entertainment than into education, more into distraction than into discipline, more into appearances than into abilities. Is it any wonder their results remain the same? Let me ask you something. If you continue living exactly as you lived last year, reading what you read, thinking what you think, doing what you do, where will you be 5 years from now? Most people never ask that question. They live life by drift instead of design. They wake up, they go to work, They come home and they wonder why nothing changes. My friends, ordinary lives stay ordinary because ordinary routines stay ordinary. If you don't challenge what you do daily, your daily will never challenge you back. If you don't demand more of yourself, life won't demand more of you. And if you don't grow, your opportunities can't grow either. But here's the good news. Just as quickly as a life can stay ordinary, it can become extraordinary. And it doesn't require a miracle. It just requires a change in where you place your effort. Not outward, inward. Not on the job, on yourself. Not on conditions, on your capacity. Once you understand that, you're ready for the habit that changes everything. Now that we've seen why most lives remain ordinary, let's take a deeper step into the habit that lifts you out of the ordinary. And remember, my friends, it's not complicated. It's not mystical. It doesn't require special talent or unusual luck. Here is the habit again, stated as clearly as I can give it to you. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Let's pause there. Most people rush past that line as if it were just another motivational quote, but it's not. It's a philosophy. It's a lifestyle. It's a way of thinking that separates those who rise from those who merely endure. So let's slow down and define it. What does it actually mean to work harder on yourself? It means you treat your mind, your character, your discipline, your attitude, and your skills as your primary career, not your secondary concern. Your job may give you a living, and that's fine. But your personal development, your ability to learn, lead, solve, adapt, and create, that gives you a fortune. See, success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by becoming a person of value, and value doesn't appear by accident. Value is built. Value is developed. Value is crafted in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Working harder on yourself means you invest time, real time, into becoming better today than you were yesterday. Because if you improve yourself, everything around you eventually improves with you. Now, let me give you a contrast. If you spend 8 hours on your job and 0 hours on yourself, you're trading time for money. But if you spend an hour or even 30 minutes working on yourself, you're trading time for value. And value multiplies. Value compounds. Value grows into opportunity. Another way to understand it, your job pays you to solve problems. Your personal growth trains you to solve bigger problems. And bigger problems bring bigger rewards. So how do you build this habit? What does working harder on yourself look like in real life? It looks like reading 5 to 10 pages of a good book every day. It looks like learning a new skill not once a year, but every week. It looks like improving your communication, your leadership, your ability to think clearly and act decisively. It looks like choosing discipline over convenience. It looks like surrounding yourself with people who lift your standards instead of lowering them. It looks like guarding your mind like precious real estate. It means you wake up each day and ask, how can I increase my value today? Not, how can I survive? Not, how can I get by? But how can I become more capable, more knowledgeable, more valuable than I was yesterday? My friends, this habit is not about perfection. It's about direction. It's about committing to the idea that you are your highest leverage investment. You are the asset. You are the engine. You are the irreplaceable foundation of everything you build in your life. And once you embrace this habit, truly embrace it, you stop waiting for life to change and you start changing yourself. And when you change, life cannot help but follow. Now, to make this habit practical, we're going to break it down into 3 essential dimensions, the 3 daily disciplines that turn personal growth into personal transformation. Because remember, the habit is simple, but simple doesn't mean easy. So let's explore the structure that makes it work. Now, my friends, let's walk into the first dimension of working harder on yourself, the foundation on which every other improvement is built, and that is the habit of learning, of feeding your mind every single day. Let me tell you something I discovered early in my journey. If you want to earn more, you must learn more. There's just no way around it. The marketplace pays for value, and value grows from knowledge, knowledge properly invested, properly studied, properly applied. The question is not whether you're smart. The question is, Are you sharpening your intelligence every day or letting it grow dull? See, the mind is like a garden. If you don't deliberately plant flowers, ideas, insights, wisdom, then the weeds grow automatically. Weeds of doubt, weeds of worry, weeds of distraction, weeds of confusion. The world supplies those weeds for free, but the flowers, those you must plant intentionally. And that's why the learning habit matters. Not for school, not for grades, not for applause, but for value. Now, you don't need to spend 6 hours a day studying. You don't need a PhD. You simply need a daily commitment to feed your mind something that elevates your thinking, expands your capacity, or sharpens your perspective. Just 10 pages a day. That's where I started. 10 pages of a good book. Not trash, not gossip, not the endless scroll of trivialities. A good book, a book that stretches you, challenges you, teaches you, shapes you. 10 pages a day is 3,650 pages a year. That's roughly a dozen solid books. Most people don't read one, but the ones who do just look at their lives, look at their income, look at their confidence. It's not luck and it's not magic. It's the quiet compounding of daily learning. Let me give you another idea. Build what I call your personal university. Not a place you enroll in, but a way you live. Every day, you listen to something that improves you. Every day, you study an idea that expands you. Every day, you expose your mind to a higher standard. And let me define the categories, because growth should be balanced. 1, learn about money. Most people work for money but never learn how money works. It's like using a tool you've never studied. No wonder they stay confused. 2, learn about the mind. Your thoughts shape your results. Study how thinking works. Study how discipline works. Study how beliefs shape actions. 3, learn about people. Success is largely human. If you can understand people, your relationships, your customers, your team, you open the door to influence. 4, learn your craft. Whether you're a teacher, a designer, an engineer, a cook, a builder, become a master. The market honors mastery. 5, learn philosophy. Because, as I've said 1,000 times, your philosophy determines your future, not the government, not your job, your philosophy. And let me tell you something wonderful. You don't have to do this all day. Just a little each day. 30 minutes, 20 minutes. Even 15 minutes of focused learning can set you apart from millions. The key is not intensity, it's consistency. Not cramming, but feeding. Not binge learning, but daily nourishment. And here's the miracle. As you learn more, your eyes begin to see more. You recognize opportunities you missed before. You hear things you used to ignore. You understand problems you once avoided. You speak with a confidence you never had. You grow into someone the marketplace rewards, not because you demanded more money, but because you became worth more money. All of this begins with the learning habit. One of the simplest habits in the world, but one of the most life-changing. So, my friends, if you truly want to work harder on yourself than you do on your job, start here. Feed your mind, guard what enters it, elevate what shapes it, because what you put in here determines everything out there. Now, once the mind is fed, once knowledge begins to grow, there is a natural next step. And that is not just learning, but acting on what you've learned. And that leads us to the second dimension of personal transformation. Now, my friends, learning is a wonderful beginning. It opens the windows of the mind, lets the fresh air in, expands your vision, broadens your understanding. But let me tell you something I learned early. Knowledge uninvested serves no one, not even you. If you read the book but never practice the principle, if you hear the idea but never take the step, your life stays exactly the same. We don't get paid for what we know. We get paid for what we do with what we know. So the second dimension of working harder on yourself is the action habit, the discipline of taking at least one step each day that increases your value in the marketplace. And remember, the step doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to move mountains. You don't even have to move the whole hill. You just have to move something. A conversation, a decision, a skill, a task, anything that builds value. Let me put it this way. Success is attracted to activity, not motion activity, not busyness, usefulness, not intention, execution. And the most valuable activity of all is the activity that makes you more valuable. Let me give you a simple question to ask yourself each morning. What is one action I can take today that will make me more valuable tomorrow? Just one. If you take one meaningful action every day, your life will not stay the same. It cannot stay the same. The laws of the universe won't allow it. Let me give you examples. You want to improve your communication? Spend 15 minutes preparing a talk, or practicing a pitch, or rewriting a paragraph until it's clear and strong. You want to improve your influence? Send a note of appreciation, make a helpful call, offer value without being asked. You want to improve your income? Study your craft deeply and do one thing that your team, your customers, or your marketplace will notice as above and beyond. You want to build your confidence? Do the thing you've been postponing. Make the call, have the conversation, face the fear. Because every time you do something difficult, your courage grows. You want to build a new habit? Start it today. Not perfectly, just start. Because action builds identity. These are the things that raise your value. These are the things that compound into opportunity. And let me give you a little philosophy here. The marketplace does not reward need. It rewards value. Many people say, I need more money. That's fine. But the marketplace doesn't respond to need. It responds to contribution, to value, to skill, to effort, to improvement. And value is built through action. A little more every day, a little better every week, a little stronger every month. If you improve your value 1% each day, in a year you are unrecognizable in ability, in confidence, in results. Let me give you another contrast, one that changed my life. The pain of discipline weighs ounces. The pain of regret weighs tons. Action is discipline. Inaction is regret. Choose the ounces. So start with small, courageous acts. One new behavior, one new skill. One action that says to yourself, I'm becoming more than I was yesterday. That daily action becomes a pattern. That pattern becomes a habit. That habit becomes character. And character becomes destiny. And let me tell you something about action. Sometimes you don't feel like it. Sometimes you don't feel ready. Sometimes you don't feel motivated. But leaders, those who rise, take action anyway. Because feelings follow action. Action rarely follows feelings. So commit to this second dimension. Every day, do one thing that increases your value, no matter how small, because small steps taken consistently build a life you're proud of. Now, learning plus action is a powerful combination, but there is still one more dimension, one more daily habit that ties the first two together and transforms activity into wisdom. And that brings us to the third part of our journey. Now, my friends, let's talk about the third dimension, one that most people never practice, never think about, never make part of their routine. Yet it is this dimension that separates the person who merely tries from the person who truly grows. It is the habit of reflection, the quiet discipline of stepping aside from your life long enough to understand what's happening in it. Let me give you something to remember. Don't just go through the day, get from the day. If you simply live the hours, but never harvest the lessons, you live the same year again and again. And that is one of the great tragedies of life. Repetition without growth. Experience without insight. Motion without meaning. Reflection is the bridge between learning and mastery. Between action and wisdom. Between effort and understanding. See, life teaches us all the time. Every conversation, every challenge, every disappointment, every success. But here's the catch. Life does not teach by default, only by reflection. If you don't pause to analyze your days, the lessons pass by like strangers in the night. They came, but they left. You were present, but not aware. So let me give you the practice. At the end of each day, or at least once a week, take a few quiet minutes to ask yourself some important questions. What did I learn today? Even if the day was ordinary, there was a lesson. Find it. Write it, Keep it. What did I do well? Success grows when you acknowledge progress. What could I have done better? Not to criticize yourself, but to improve yourself. Where did I hesitate when I should have acted? Reflection uncovers patterns the unexamined life repeats forever. What one thing will I adjust tomorrow? Because wisdom without adjustment is just information. This, my friends, is how you turn experience into wisdom, by processing it, by studying it, by listening to the whispers inside your own behavior. Reflection allows you to meet yourself each day and say, here's where I'm growing, here's where I'm drifting, here's where I need to tighten things up. Let me give you another idea. Build what I call the mirror test. At the end of the day, look yourself in the mirror, literally or figuratively, and ask, did I give my best today? Not anybody else's best, your best. If the answer is yes, celebrate. If the answer is no, adjust. Don't condemn, correct. That's the key. And reflection has another power. It protects your philosophy. Your philosophy is the set of ideas that steer your life. And if your philosophy is weak, your results will be weak. But if your philosophy is strong, disciplined, clear, intentional, then your life will follow the direction of that strength. Reflection keeps your philosophy clean, sharp, and aligned. Reflection also keeps you honest. You can deceive others for a long time, but you cannot deceive yourself at the end of the day. Reflection shows you the truth, not to shame you, but to shape you. Let me give you a contrast. Unreflected action becomes repetition. Reflected action becomes improvement. And improvement, sustained over time, becomes transformation. The action habit builds momentum. The learning habit builds vision. But the reflection habit builds wisdom, and wisdom builds wealth. Now remember, this is not an academic exercise. You don't need long essays, long journals, long sessions. Just a few minutes of honest evaluation can change the entire course of your week, your month, your year, your life. Because when you combine these three habits, learning, action, reflection, you become a different kind of person. Someone who grows every day, someone who improves every day, someone who becomes more valuable with every sunrise. And once you begin to grow consistently, something extraordinary starts to happen. Your results begin to multiply. Opportunities start to appear, and your life almost quietly begins to rise. And that brings us to the next part of our journey, the compounding effect that this one habit unleashes over time. Now, my friends, let's take the next step. We've talked about learning, we've talked about taking action, we've talked about reflection. 3 simple habits, practice daily. But the question now is, why do these habits matter so much? Why do they turn ordinary people into extraordinary successes? Why does this philosophy, working harder on yourself than you do on your job, produce results so astonishing that people sometimes call it luck? The answer is simple. The answer is profound. The answer is something most people completely misunderstand. Because these habits compound. Let me tell you something important. Your life doesn't change by big events. Your life changes by small improvements, stacked, repeated, and multiplied over time. Growth may feel slow in the moment, but it's powerful in the long run. Let me give you a principle worth writing down. Small disciplines repeated with consistency lead to great achievements gained with certainty. That's the law of the harvest. That's the law of the seasons. That's the law of compounding. Let me explain. If you read 10 pages today, you won't feel much smarter. If you practice a skill for 15 minutes, you won't feel much stronger. If you reflect for 5 minutes tonight, you won't suddenly feel wiser. But if you do it every day, those tiny improvements stack on top of each other, and suddenly, what was once small becomes significant. What was once ordinary becomes exceptional. What was once simple becomes powerful. It's like planting a seed. On day 1, you see nothing. On day 10, still nothing. On day 30, a little green thread pushing through the soil. But give it time, give it attention, give it nourishment, and that seed grows into something you could never have imagined from its beginning. That's you. That's your potential. That's your future if you stay with the process. Most people quit because they can't see the immediate return. They forget that compounding is invisible at first, then unstoppable later. They mistake slow beginnings for failure, when in fact slow beginnings are the nature of every powerful transformation. Let me give you a contrast. Failure is rarely the result of one catastrophic mistake. Success is rarely the result of one heroic decision. Failure is subtle. Success is subtle. Both are built in small steps. A little neglect over time becomes disaster. A little discipline over time becomes success. You won't become a millionaire tomorrow. You won't become a millionaire by working hard for one weekend. But you can become a millionaire over time if you adopt the daily habit of working on yourself. Why? Because the person you become will attract the opportunities that your old self would never have noticed, let alone handled. Let me paint the picture. You study a little each day, your knowledge compounds. You take small courageous actions, your confidence compounds. You reflect on your behavior, your wisdom compounds. Your value rises, your opportunities rise. Your opportunities rise, your income rises. Your income rises, your investments rise. Your investments rise, your wealth compounds. And it all starts from the inside. It starts with becoming a better thinker, a better listener, a better problem solver, a better leader, a better human being. Because money doesn't flow to people, money flows to value. And when you increase your value, you step into a different future. Now, here's the miracle. When you work harder on yourself today, the rewards don't only come tomorrow. They come for years, sometimes for decades. Because you don't just improve your skills, you improve your capacity. And once your capacity grows, no one can take that from you. And remember, most people overestimate what they can do in a month, but they underestimate what they can do in 5 years. 5 years of consistent personal growth can take you from ordinary to exceptional, from struggling to secure, from unnoticed to indispensable, from employee to leader, from income to wealth. Let me tell you something. The compounding effect may be slow, but it is certain. If you'll do your part, the harvest will come. Not maybe, not hopefully. It will come, because the laws of the universe cannot be broken. You reap what you sow. And if you sow into yourself daily, faithfully, consistently, you will eventually reap a life beyond anything you once expected. Now, once compounding begins its work, something else happens. Your habits don't just create results, they create a new identity. And that brings us to our next section. Now, my friends, once you've learned consistently, acted consistently, and reflected consistently, something extraordinary begins to happen within you. Something quiet, something invisible at first, but unmistakable when it arrives. You begin to develop what I call the millionaire mindset, not the mindset of someone who has money, but the mindset of someone who is becoming a person of value, discipline, and high standards. And let me tell you something important. Money doesn't make you a millionaire. Your mindset makes you a millionaire long before the money ever shows up. See, most people think wealth begins in the bank account, but that's not true. Wealth begins in your philosophy, in your habits, in your standards, in the identity you're quietly building one disciplined day at a time. Let's walk through this. When you begin to work harder on yourself, your self-image changes. You rise. And when you rise, your standards rise with you. Now, what are standards? Standards are the invisible rules you live by, the silent expectations you set for yourself, the commitments you keep even when no one is watching. Let me give you a few examples of millionaire standards. 1. Millionaires keep promises to themselves. Most people keep promises to others but break promises to themselves. They say, I'll start tomorrow. I'll get to it later. It's not the right time. No. Millionaire mindset says, if I said it, I'll do it, especially when it's inconvenient. 2. Millionaires value time more than comfort. While others waste hours on distractions, millionaires guard their time. They know time is life, and once it's gone forever. 3. Millionaires act even without motivation. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline stays, and discipline creates results motivation can't touch. 4. Millionaires are students of life. They don't believe they know it all. They study, they ask questions, they learn from mentors, they adjust. 5. Millionaires take responsibility. Not for everything that happens, but for everything they can control. Their mindset, effort, decisions, and character. 6. Millionaires solve problems. The bigger the problem you can solve, the more value you create. And the marketplace pays generously for solutions. 7. Millionaires surround themselves with high-standard people because environment shapes outcome, associations matter, and what do all these behaviors have in common? Identity. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your destiny. If every day you practice learning, acting, reflecting, if every day you hold yourself to a higher standard, if every day you keep small promises, soon you no longer have to try to act like a successful person. You simply become one. Let me give you a powerful truth. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. Success is not something you chase. It is something you attract by the person you become. And once you become the kind of person who reads daily, who takes action, who reflects, who keeps promises, who improves at least 1% each day, success starts knocking. Opportunities start noticing you. People start trusting you. Doors begin to open that were once invisible. Why? Because your identity has changed. You have become someone trustworthy, disciplined, consistent, valuable, and wealth follows value as surely as night follows day. Let me give you another contrast. Wages are given. Value is attracted. Income is assigned. Wealth is earned through identity. You can lose a job. You cannot lose the person you've become. You can lose money. You cannot lose your discipline, your character, your skills, your philosophy. Those are permanent assets. And those assets, your inner assets, are what make financial assets possible, inevitable, and sustainable. Let me say it carefully. Becoming a millionaire is not about chasing money. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally creates value, solves problems, leads with character, and grows consistently. Once you become that person, wealth becomes a natural byproduct, not a chase. And when your identity is aligned with success, your future becomes predictable. Not guaranteed, nothing is guaranteed, but predictable. Because your habits determine your direction, and your direction determines your destination. And when your destination begins to change, everything changes. Now, my friends, let's bring this message home. Let's talk about how to tie all of this together and begin today. Let's close this lesson with clarity, conviction, and challenge. My friends, as we bring this message to a close, let me leave you with something simple, something clear, and something powerful enough to change the entire trajectory of your life if you'll take it to heart. Everything we've talked about today, learning daily, acting daily, reflecting daily, compounding your growth, raising your standards, building your identity, everything rests on one timeless principle. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Because if you do, life will begin to work harder for you. Opportunities will begin to find you. People will begin to trust you. Doors will begin to open that you didn't even know existed. You see, success doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to effort. It responds to discipline. It responds to growth. And most importantly, it responds to the person you become. Let me say it again. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. And that value is built long before the paycheck shows up. So here's my challenge to you. Begin today. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Not when things are convenient. Today. Read 10 pages. Take one courageous action. Reflect for 5 quiet minutes. Do something, anything that makes you more valuable than you were yesterday. Because transformation doesn't require perfection. It requires direction. A direction you choose each day. A direction you commit to with small steps. A direction that, over time, leads you out of the ordinary and into the extraordinary. And remember this. The greatest reward of becoming a millionaire is not the money. The greatest reward is the person you must become to earn it, the discipline you gain, the confidence you build, the wisdom you accumulate, the character you strengthen. Those are the things that stay with you. Those are the things no one can take away. Those are the things that turn an ordinary life into an exceptional one. So, my friends, work on yourself. Invest in yourself. Challenge yourself. Grow yourself. Because when you lead yourself first, success will always follow. Not by luck, not by chance, but by the quiet, steady, unwavering commitment to becoming more than you were yesterday. Until we talk again, here's to your growth, your value, and the extraordinary life waiting on the other side of your daily disciplines.